The last time TNA renegotiated their deal with Spike TV, they announced their renewal in early April. It's now late July, almost August, almost 4 months later. So the fact that they're getting down to the wire with their negotiations when their contract expires in a few months, they don't have to end their deal to know that there's some shit going on backstage that is not going well for TNA. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and feign outrage or sadness at this news, because as far as I'm concerned, this is just another thing on the list. One more thing in a series of unfortunate fuck-ups for TNA. Over the years, they've burned through their own identity, they've burned through money, they've burned through talent, and they've burned through the goodwill of the fans. And you have to sit here at a point where the company is in ruins and ask, what was it for? This illogical and unrequited pursuit of WWE, what did it get them? You have to ask that question. And I'm sitting here now and people are all on Twitter like, oh, this is a sad day in the wrestling business. Why? Them possibly losing their TV deal, that's not the sad part. The sad part is they ignored all of the fucking signs that were leading them to a story like this. They were leading them to a moment like this where we're questioning whether TNA is going to survive in the next month or where they're going to be if they lose their TV deal. The sad part is that, just as Charlie laid out, every time that they said, oh, only if we had this, only if we had that, then they got it, they fucked it up. Every single opportunity that they had to be great, they fucked it up. That's the sad part. Them losing their TV deal, I'm not concerned with that. And more along the lines of it being sad, somewhere along the lines, the powers that be in TNA decided that simply being good wasn't good enough. They were more concerned with creating the illusion of being big time rather than actually putting in the work and putting in the effort to actually make sure that you were big time. That's why we see these stories with TNA where they're renting out these arenas and things like that for shows, and you have a 5,000 seat arena and they can't even fill fucking half the arena because they want to look, they want you to think that they're big time. Oh, we're in this arena, but we can't even fill up the fucking thing halfway. It's just stupid, illogical stuff like that. And folks are trying to sit here and act as if this is some kind of great loss to the wrestling industry. And like I said, it does bring up comparisons to ECW and WCW simply because they lost their TV deal too. But when you say things like, oh, WWE is going to buy TNA, WWE is going to put TNA on the WWE network, and oh, we're going to have this, invasion of the TNA talent, like, it's nice to dream about stuff like that and to joke about stuff like that, but here's the reality. WCW and ECW actually serve significance in the history of the wrestling industry. TNA doesn't.
TNA might have NXT versus TNA.
TNA will go down in history as the company that was created in the shadow of the carcasses of wrestling promotions much greater than it ever was. And as far as the tweets that I've been reading, like Sunday night on Twitter was pure hilarity. All of the self-righteous bullshit, people talking about this is terrible for the wrestling industry. Competition is always good, and this kills competition. This is killing an option for wrestling fans. Believe me, I understand the importance of competition in the wrestling industry, but for you to say something like that and act as if it applies in this situation, you're assuming that TNA was competition for WWE. Newsflash, it never was. In TNA's entire history, it has never been anything resembling viable competition to the WWE, but that didn't stop them from thinking that they were, and that didn't stop the fans from contributing to this delusion of grandeur that TNA had. And I honestly think that that's what led to their downfall, because somewhere along the lines, TNA stopped being a wrestling promotion and it simply served as a vessel for people to put their hopes and their wishes and their dreams. So it's to the point where they're like, man, WWE needs some competition, so we're going to put all of our hopes into TNA, and they're going to be this great big wrestling promotion that rises up and challenges the great and mighty WWE. And it never was that. Like, TNA's importance over the years was artificially inflated, and people were so desperate for the return of the Attitude Era, for a new revolution in wrestling, a new golden era, a new Monday Night Wars, that they artificially inflated the importance of TNA. And TNA picked up off of that, and they're like, oh yeah, well, these people, they want us. Yeah, they got a little ahead of themselves. So it's to the point where they were like, oh yeah, you know what? Logical storytelling, shit that makes sense, forget that. Where's the shock value? And people ate it up like candy to the point where they're sitting right now, and I mean, where are they? What is TNA? What is their fucking identity? When I tried to watch TNA, when they did their 1,999,851st fucking reset with these tapings in New York, I sat down, I tried to watch the show, but for some reason, and maybe it's just me, maybe I'm crazy, but when you're sitting here and you're talking about trying to be revolutionary, oh, we're going to do things new like ECW did. We're going to do things revolutionary. We're going to start a revolution in the wrestling industry like ECW did. Am I the only one that's sitting back like, do they not hear their fucking selves? Like, are you fucking kidding me? You're trying to be revolutionary by being somebody else. And the way that they violate the corpse of ECW, it should seriously be criminal. Like, it's worse than...
Yeah, I gave up on them after their bullshit fucking attempt to do an ECW reunion show. When I saw Balls Mahoney and Bubba Ray Dudley having a lightsaber fight in which Bubba Ray Dudley sold for being stabbed by a lightsaber, I said, fuck this company.
They did that?
Yes, I can...
That could not be a thing. That was a thing.
We will watch the video together. I know exactly where to find it. But, Jay, you talk a lot about how they were renting these big arenas, and they're always bigger than themselves. To talk about ECW for a second, for those of you that don't know, I'm a very big ECW fan. I don't know if you could tell. But there's one thing Paul Heyman said when he talked about ECW, was accentuate the positives and hide the negatives. He talked about his production value, his pyro, that he couldn't compete with the levels of WWE and WCW, so he said, why go there? You know, the whole idea of don't even try to be bigger than you are. Hide what you can't do well and send out what you do well. You know, he sent out the cruiserweights, he brought those into America. He had the hardest hitting brawls, best interviews, like that. The best of his promotion to showcase that rather than trying to be something that he wasn't and making this company look second rate and bullshit. And TNA has always just made their company look second rate and bullshit.
Yeah, and then when you do this shit where it's like you're booking based off of shock values just so you can get headlines and just so people's eyes can bounce back and forth on the fucking screen like they're watching a tennis match or something like that, just shit being thrown at them consistently. When you do things like that, you build a reputation for yourself and people start noticing. Like, obviously Spike TV has noticed, the fans have noticed, to the point where we actually were supposed to talk about TNA on the show last week, but we didn't because there was more important shit going on. And I honestly had to twist everybody on this fucking panel. I had to twist their arm behind their back just to get them to watch TNA because they've been burned so many times by the stupid shit that TNA does, where they have absolutely no consistency in their product because they're purely based off of shock value. And then when people realize they're full of bullshit, then that's when they do reset number 2,851,642, and they make all of these promises, and then they get people hyped up, and a few weeks later they revert right back to form. And you don't think that people aren't going to pick up on that and people aren't going to see right through your bullshit? The fans have seen through your bullshit, and guess what? Apparently now Spike TV has seen through it too, because TNA, they got pretty good ratings for these last two episodes, but it's at a position where it's now too little too late. Like, how many times are you going to do these resets before you set on a vision and move forward on that vision? When you continually say, oh, everything is going to be changing on every level and we got it right this time, am I supposed to believe you when you've burned me so many fucking times before?
Not to mention with the whole New York thing, I mean, those were good shows. I won't say they weren't, but does anybody else want to mention the fact that the next month they're going right back to the fucking impact zone, or the shit pack zone, as I so eloquently like to call it, that awful arena that they've been hanging out in, and every time they try to leave they lose money. The New York shows are very good. They had a hot crowd. They put on a pretty decent show, but what's the sustainability? And they've also had instances where I don't know why anybody would ever buy a TNA pay-per-view, because anything you'd want to see on pay-per-view gets put out on TV. They do it constantly. It's why people were like, well, the WWE switched the title like the night of pay-per-view. Well, sure. But they don't do it every fucking time. Like, what, outside of Bound for Glory, what important has happened on a TNA pay-per-view? I was looking over their world title switches. I think I went to the last 10. Like, 7 were on Impact. 7. And it carries over to their other titles, too. Their tag team title, their knockout title, their X Division title. The last 10 reigns, they all have more than half switching on Impact. There's every time I watch a TNA show, I go, man, there was some good wrestling on there, but what happened? What happened was Thursday title switched.
Yeah, this doesn't necessarily have to be the end of TNA, but as far as I'm concerned, this conversation is still relevant. This is like the state of the union for TNA, the stumble and fall of TNA, because they fucked up so many times where the company doesn't have to be done, but hey, I'm done with them. You're going to have to show me that you're going to be consistent from week to week to week, months-long consistency, and shit, who knows if you'll even have that opportunity at this point. And as far as people saying that we may be harsh and we're looking at this in the wrong light, and oh, there are people losing their jobs and things like that. Number one, AJ Styles left the promotion, and he already has made more money in 7 months out of this year working in New Japan and working in various indie promotions than he would have if he stayed in TNA for the entire fucking year. 7 months, he's made more money than he would have in 12 months. And then on the second one, like Charlie said in a conversation that we were having when the news broke on Sunday, it's not our job to keep TNA in business. That's the job of the people in management. Those are the jobs of the executives in TNA, and they're the ones who fucked it up. So if you want to look at anybody and say that they're cruel and they're not thinking about the future and how these people are going to put food on their tables for their families, looking at the wrong people. It's not our job to keep them in business.
So I hope y'all prepared, because when ECW and WCW were on their dying beds, they didn't have the opportunities for exposure that TNA now has. So y'all ready for that TNA network? Because you know it's coming.
And here's the thing, too. Like, a lot of people will say, well, TNA's not the only company to do stupid shit. They're the only company to do stupid shit with any sort of consistent rate. Like, sure, the WWE has bullshit, but it's not all over the show. Like, how many times have I watched Victory Road 09 happen, where it's just bullshit, 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 Hard Justice 07, bullshit, 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 bullshit. Like, I don't have the patience to sit there and have these shows where it's just bullshit over and over and over and over and over again, and it's the same mistakes. It's the same. They don't learn from their past bullshit. They take everything that could be good. They had AJ Styles, who was their most popular guy, their only homegrown talent to really make it at some sort of really popular level, and they couldn't help themselves but try to turn him into Ric Flair, and then they had to turn him into Sting, and then they had to make him everything that he wasn't, and he eventually left the company, is now doing better outside the company. They treated talent like shit. They have pissed off every friggin' company. They've had ROH, New Japan, Wrestle One. They're run like ass, okay? They're run awful.
I know 4-year-olds that could run a better company than the people that are in management with TNA.
Even if this isn't the end for TNA, even now, I'm like, I hope this teaches them a lesson. I hope this makes them get their shit together and move forward with a different vision for the company. But how many chances can you possibly give them? Like, I'm honestly tired of saying the same damn thing over and over again. For you people out there talking about, well, this kills an option that wrestling fans have. Not a good option. So, as far as I'm concerned, one less shitty promotion. Things are flowing exactly the way that they're supposed to, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh my god, this lightsaber match was actually a thing.